after nearly 6 years of GST implementation, this 52B was modified or rather substituted with an additional definition. Everything, but specifically known as the utility vehicles. Length of 4000 millimeter and ground clearance of 170 millimeter and above. This has also been brought in under the quote unquote provision of as is where is principle. Hello, today we are presenting this small video on yet another circular, circular number 247, which has been issued on 14th February 2025, and this circular brings to clarify certain GST applicability and GST rates on few items. So this is a welcome circular. I feel some related sectors which are very important because there was a lot of doubts coming from industry with regard to what will be the GST rate and what will be the applicability, how will be the classification go. So this circular, I have distributed this circular, I've broken down the circular into 5 different parts. So on a very brief manner, I will be explaining what are the changes that has been made with regard to this particular sectors. So let us start. Our first point or our first sector is the sector of paper, black paper, that some clarifications has come, welcome clarification have come from the last GST Council meeting, and a notification and a circular clearing this effecting this notification has been given. So let us start with the dried paper one first. So what happened, we have to understand one thing is, as per the definition of the agriculturist under the GST laws, we have to remember that an agriculturist is defined under section 2 subsection 7 of the CGST Act, which clearly states that any individual or an Hindu undivided family who cultivates anything on land, by way of his own labor or by way of labor of any family member, or if they have servants or they provide wages or have hired labor which is under the supervision of the particular person or on the supervision of the any family member of the particular person. So this is what a clear cut definition of agriculturist has been given. With regards to paper, it has been clarified that paper, which was whether it is green paper or white or black paper, and it is classified under the HSN code of 0904 with a GST rate of 5% as per schedule 1 serial number 38 of notification 1 by 2017. Now in this GST Council, they have discussed and they have brought in this change that any paper, dried paper supplied by agriculturists. So since we have already defined what is and who is an agriculturist, so such agriculturist, if they are supplying dried paper, they will not be subject to any GST and will be exempted from registration of GST also. So entire registration procedure of such agriculturists who are supplying dried paper has now been exempted. So this is the first change that has been brought in by the GST Council. So this was regard to paper. Now let us move on to the second clarification, which is with regard to resins supplied by the agriculturist. As in the previous discussion, we have already said that who is an agriculturist. So first we have to identify whether that particular dealer is an agriculturist or not. Here it is very important to understand that who will be supplier of, as we have discussed in the segment of paper, that he who cultivates and supplies. So dried black paper exemption has been specifically given for those agriculturists who have been cultivating and supplying, or that dried black pepper has been exempted. So pepper, dried black pepper, if someone is only supplying dried black pepper and not cultivating, he will not be getting this exemption. So the person who is getting this exemption is an agriculturist who is cultivating and supplying. Similar thing, something has come for raisins. So the agriculturist was supplying raisins directly. The agriculturists supplying raisins directly are now exempted from GST. As these supplies are exempted, hence GST registration under section 23 subsection 1 of the CGST Act is not applicable to such agriculturists. So this is the second clarification with regard to raisins that has been cleared by the GST Council. Next point is a important clarification with regard to popcorn. As we already know that popcorn comes in the market in various forms. Certain clarifications were required from the GST Council, and they have classified the segment of popcorn in 3 different segments, and a rates has been specified under those 3 segments. So let us just go into such segments briefly. The first one is loose or non-packaged ready to eat popcorns. We have to understand this. It is ready to eat popcorn which is supplied loosely and unpackaged, mixed with salts and spices. So this is important, that this is one particular category, that is popcorn mixed with salt and spices. Another popcorn is mixed with sugar. So these are 2 specific categories. Under first category, that is the popcorn which is mixed with salt and spices, there is 2 subcategories. The first category is loose ready to eat popcorn, that has been classified under HSN code 21069099, which attracts GST of 5%. So unpackaged, loose, ready to eat popcorn, GST rate 5%. Pre-packaged, labeled, pre-packaged and labeled ready to eat popcorn will attract 12%. So this has been clarified, and this has also been brought in under the quote unquote provision of as is where is basis. That means anything that has been done prior to this circular will be taken on by the GST on whether you have paid the tax, it will not be refunded, or whether you have not paid the tax, unclassified it, wrong classified it, whatever you have done, that thing will not be considered, and you can move ahead with this clarification post 14 to 2025. So 14 to 2025, you have to pay your GST 5% of 12% accordingly, whichever category, subcategory you are falling in. Now, the major category, that is popcorn with caramelized sugar or caramelized popcorn, basically known in the market as caramelized popcorn. So caramelized popcorn has been taken under classification of sugar confectionery, and it will be coded under 17049090 and will be subject to a GST of 18%. So any popcorn which is mixed with sugar will be classified as a sugar confectionery and will be charged at 18%. And any popcorn which is mixed with salt and spices, that will have 2 subcategories. One is loose, one is labeled. Loose one will go for 5%, labeled and pre-packaged one will go for 12%. So this was a welcome clarification that was provided in the circular. So that concludes our third important point in this circular 247. Moving on to the next point, the fourth clarification that has been brought in by this circular is on autoclaved aerated concrete blocks. Now, prior to this circular, what was happening is there were 2 particular heads under which this sector was taxed. One was fly ash bricks or fly ash aggregates and fly ash blocks. So here the word is fly ash. So anything which is using fly ash will be classifiable under code 6815 and will be attracting 12% GST. This was clear. Another point, another head was there, which is articles of cement or concrete or of artificial stone, whether or not reinforced, which will be classified under HSN 6810. I repeat, 6810, and will be attracting a GST rate of 18%. So fly ash bricks, fly ash aggregates, and fly ash blocks will be classified under 6815, attracting 12%. Cement, concrete, articles of cement, of concrete, or of artificial stone, whether or not reinforced, will be attracting 18% GST and will be classified under HSN 6810. So what was the change that has been brought in? The major change that has been brought in, that the new product which is very readily available in the market right now under the civil construction industry is autoclaved aerated concrete blocks. This particular block there was a confusion whether it will go for 12% or whether it will go for 18%. The GST Council has clarified that if while manufacturing this block you are using more than 50% fly ash, it will be classified under 6815 and will be attracting 12% GST. And such autoclaved aerated concrete blocks, if they are using less than 50% fly ash, it will be classified under 6810 and will be taxed as 18% GST. So this was the clarification on autoclaved aerated concrete blocks. This particular change has been brought in with regard to motor vehicle sector, where as per entry number 52B dated 28/6/2017, any motor vehicles of engine capacity of more than 1500 cc, commonly known as SUVs, including utility vehicles, was attracted by a compensation cess of 22%. Then later on 2023, that is specifically 26/7/2023, after nearly 6 years of GST implementation, this 52B was modified, or rather substituted with an additional definition. What was the change that was brought in? The change made was that all motor vehicles, that is including everything, but specifically known as the utility vehicles, by whatever name called, the nomenclature is not important. Previously in 52B, the nomenclature SUVs were mentioned, but later on 26/7/2023 it was substituted and there is no such thing called SUVs. What happened? All motor vehicles which are commonly known as utility vehicles with engine capacity of 1500 cc or more, here an additional change came in. Length of 4000 millimeter and ground clearance of 170 millimeter and above was categorized and was attracted by this entry 52B, which is the rate is 22% compensation cess. Additionally, a new explanation was inserted, that is the ground clearance. Ground clearance was meant to be unladen condition. Ground clearance in unladen condition. This explanation was inserted from 26/7/2023. What this circular has stated, that this definition of ground clearance, that is ground clearance in unladen condition, will apply from 26/7/2023 only. So basically, since this entry 52B was substituted on 26/7/2023 from the original entry 52B dated 28/6/2017, a lot of confusions were there whether this will be applicable from 2017. This circular clears the air and says that no, this definition or this new explanation of ground clearance will be applicable from 26/7/2023 only. So anything which has got this classification of SUVs, or rather utility vehicles, from 28/7/2023, the definition of ground clearance will be applicable from that date only. From previous date, such ground clearance concept was not there, hence not be classified and not be charged extra on GST. So that was the final point on ground clearance, and that concludes our circular 247 dated 14/2/2025. Thank you very much for our patient listening. Since GST is bringing in new changes every alternate month, so we are trying to provide you with clarifications and the latest changes as soon as possible, with major clarifications and major notifications once they are notified. So giving the industry applicability, what the change and what are the impacts that are going to be made by these certain changes, will be deliberating on such and updating you on such, and hopefully this will be useful to you.